Hi, how you doing?
Good, and yourself?
All right, Mike, doing great, thanks.
Appreciate the time. Want to get into the latest album, talk about the upcoming show, and look in the rear view mirror a little bit. But
Sure.
you've been on quite a tear, man. Fourth in a row since being reunited with Tracy, and I'm loving the new album, Black Diamonds. I had talked to Tracy on the last album, Checkered Past, which kind of was done over the pandemic and
Yeah.
completely over Zoom at that time. Curious for this one, were you able to get in the same room, or was it kind of more the same thing for this one?
Oh no, Mike, it was polar opposite. It was fantastic. As Tracy explained, Checkered Past was entirely remote, and we I hated it, to be honest with you. I hated the fact that I had to do all my own engineering, or record all my own vocals. I haven't done that in a long time. I got up to speed on it, but technically that wasn't the issue. What I really, the first thing I noticed when we started working on the Black Diamonds were, you're correct, we were all in the same room or a bus or a dressing room backstage somewhere, and it was cooking. Mike, it was like it felt so good, and I don't know if the other guys felt that, but it for me, it was magic, and what it's all about, guys getting in a room together and knocking out, put songs together and knocking out ideas and having a laugh, and also it really gives me an opportunity to see just how brilliant these guys are, what great musicians they are. Because when it was remote, or I was just getting files, it was all recorded, it was all done. But to
Sure.
see them laying down the tracks, I love that, it never gets old. I do, but that doesn't.
Certainly the spontaneity of all being in the same room, and now Ace Von Johnson on his third album. Imagine him getting more involved too.
Indeed, yes, and actually bringing songs in as well. We've just started playing "Like a Drug," or as we call it, "I Like Drugs." We just started playing that live, and it's a song that he brought in, and it's cool. It's got this sort of Thin Lizzy vibe, but it's because he's such a punk rocker. It I don't know. It's like it punches, and it's a great song. It's got a great bridge. The breakdown in the middle of the song is just it kills me every time. And we played it live for the first time last weekend here in Vegas at Vamped, and it sounded pretty good. And it's always a challenge, when you haven't played a song live. I mean, I've sung it 100 times because I recorded it. But now, there's a big difference between that and doing it live, and it was just like a duck to water. I mean, we pulled it off. We had a sound check. We ran through it a couple of times. Love this band. These guys can do anything.
It's funny you mentioned about that song in particular and kind of having that 70s Thin Lizzy vibe. I kind of felt like the whole album kind of had like wearing your influences on your sleeve kind of deal. I mean, certainly with the opening track, Your Betray, definitely had that like Zeppelin kind of feel to it. But I feel like the whole album kind of had a 70s kind of, like I said, influence on your sleeve kind of vibe.
Of course, and we wear that as a medal of honor. To be honest with you, we are children of the '70s. We grew up with the gatefold vinyl. Tracy and I, we're like brothers, in the fact, in the way we were raised. Finding our parents porn on Super 8s and stuff like that. That very very indicative of the '70s, and we make no apologies for it. Yeah, there's a couple of really close Zeppelin calls there, aren't there? And no apologies for it. If they weren't the biggest thieves in the industry, I wouldn't feel bad about it. But they are. So we're just, we're thieving, stealing from thieves, and doing a pretty good job of it. And um, a couple of times, couple of moments during the course of recording this, I kind of I step back and I'm like, not bad, dude, not bad at all. Even if I win, that's very, very Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And when we first started tackling it, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do. I'm a Rod Stewart singer, you know. I can't do that Robert Plant stuff. But goddamn, I did it, and I'm real proud of it. I wouldn't like to do it every night, but yeah, there were moments where I impressed myself on this record.
Yeah, it definitely had that vibe, and I love it. And I was kind of thought like, oh, now I know what Zeppelin meets LA Guns would sound like.
Yeah. Well, Tracy is, you know, he makes no apologies. He's the biggest Jimmy Page fan there is out there, and you know, it's his idol. He makes and buys guitars that look like Jimmy's, and you know, that's his childhood hero. And it blows me away to think that, you know, he went from being a kid and an adulating kid to I think he holds his eye. I think he's a better player than Page. I think Tracy's a national treasure, to be honest with you. I can't think of anyone as good as him. Yeah, I mean, okay, Ingve is quick, but if you like that kind of thing, I hate it. I hate that kind of thing. I like blues guitar, you know, but I don't like Tracy. He is the ultimate hybrid where he can go from that amazing dexterity to just stretching a note, just absolutely perfect. And you know, it's been a pleasure seeing him develop as an artist and as a writer, of course. Yeah, yeah, we are big Zeppelin fans. I'm a big Humble Pie fan. I like Steve Marriott, you know, like that high screamy vocals. Is that a chick? Is that a guy? Kind of a thing. The same, you know, same thing as Robert Plant, but you know, big time Rod Stewart fan,
Mm.
and the combination between the two of us, it's the same. It's the same as when Beck got together with Rod Stewart, and Page saw that and was like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to go and find myself a good singer,
Yeah.
and he was influenced by that Rod Stewart Jeff Beck collaboration, and that's when he went off and found Robert and did his own version of that.
Well, now talking about this new album, now comes the toughest part is putting together a set list. I imagine we have you
Oh,
in
it's a
our
nightmare.
market. Yeah, coming out to
Yeah,
the Inland Empire, going to be at Rock N Brews inside Yaamava on Friday the 29th.
I love that. I love that venue. I love that venue so much. They treat us so well, and you know, it's nothing fancy, but everything's great. It sounds great. It's got good. It's got a great vibe for the start. But you know, technically, it's everything we need. You know, we're not big on big screen monitors and pyro. None of that bollocks. We like, you know, we like to keep it simple, keep it raw. And yeah, looking forward to that. But you're right. It's so difficult putting a set list together when we're so excited with a new record, you know, and you know, quite often a band can clear a room. Here's another new one, and so we got to be careful. But we've taken a few chances. You Betray was a no-brainer. You know, I thought that I think that's pretty much going to be in the set forever. And then we had a go, a valiant, fantastic. I say go like it's past tense, but we're doing Diamonds, that big beautiful ballad,
Love it.
and that's fantastic. And now we're adding Like a Drug, which is three from the new record, and I think what we'll probably have to do is decide between Diamonds and Like a Drug, because you know it's not like we're a nostalgia act, but you know if people don't get their Electric Gypsy, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, you got probably two fistfuls of songs that you have to play every show.
It's a great place to be, of course, you know, and especially with the stuff that we've done since the reunion, which we're
Yeah,
incredibly proud of. But yeah,
Cannonball and
like
all that.
oh, Cannonball. I mean, that's an evergreen too. That's we open our set with that. I did because there's no better sort like opening the record, and
Yeah.
it just gets us all pumped. It gets us into the mood. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of energy, plenty of music, and if the gig is anything like the last, I don't know, this might be the fourth time we played it. If the energy's there as it has been for the others, it's going to be a great night.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Speaking of this time of the year, I've been playing it as well, the LA Guns version of Little Saint Nick, and kind of curious, are you a fan of this time of the year? Do you get into the Christmas spirit, or is it all just bullocks and it's work time for you?
Oh,
For you?
honestly, Mike, when you've had as many Christmases as I have, it's like, okay. I guess it's good. When I was on dad duty, my kids are grown up now. They're not kids, they're adults. But that was cute. I like that. But even that, it's kids opening presents. Oh, I don't like it. I wanted the green one. So it's just like I don't miss that at all. Um, I um, I don't know. I just trying to go with my mind into an oily neutral, and I try not to think about it too much. But my wife, she's amazing. She's an artist, so it's not your typical red and green Christmas with her. It's just like our Christmas tree is white, and she's put bats on it, and it's she makes it fun.
Any traditions this time of year? Like for me, growing up and having single parents, I'd always go to my dad's on Christmas Eve, mom on Christmas Day, and started this weird tradition with my dad because nothing was open on Christmas Eve to have pizza. And my
Yeah.
dad's since passed, and now I always eat pizza on Christmas Eve as a
Do
little
you? Yeah.
tradition. Do you have
Right.
anything like that for you?
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna be sitting at home eating turkey and ham and all the trimmings. And no, as I said, if you've had as many Christmas dinners as I have, no, we'll probably make a beef Wellington or something cozy like that. Pretend it's snowing.
Yum. Yum. Well, Trey, Bill, I appreciate all the time, and just wanted to go back. Happens to be the 35th anniversary of the debut album, and kind of wanted to
Amazing.
rewind it back to that time. Curious how many tunes were written in studio versus going in with, because obviously you had a career before with Bitch and Tracy with
Yeah,
Guns N' Roses.
yeah.
So how much time did you guys actually have before getting signed, or was a lot written in the studio?
Yes, a lot of the stuff was written prior to me joining, but the music had been written, and the old singer had uh, done some lyrics that I couldn't understand, and it approached the songs in a strange way. I couldn't do that. I was like, look, just let that jet go by. Look, if I'm going to join the band, I need to do it my own thing, my own way. And for the connoisseur, you can find certain songs like the Sex Action. We was called something else. There's a couple from the first album that have different pre-fill versions,
Ah,
and you can come to your own conclusion. They're a little bit they're a bit dull for me, a bit depressing, and then most of the songs are about drugs, and I don't know anything about. I'm not interested in that. And so yes, a lot of it was written. Music, a lot of music was written, but yeah, I changed a lot of the lyric, all the lyrics actually. There was nothing from the old guide that I kept. And yeah, of course, like 6 months down the line, when the album came out and it hit the jackpot, we got some legal issues because of it. But hey, as you say, that was 35 years ago.
yeah.
So I mean, it's been a great run. And honestly, I died and went to heaven when I got that call from Tracy, because I was in London. You might not be able to tell, but I'm English. But and it was I got the call shortly after. Do you remember that monstrosity called Live Aid?
Mm-hmm.
I I was in England during Live Aid, and I just wanted to die. I wanted to kill myself. It was just like, so this is it. This is the English music. There's no rock and roll in Live Aid. There's not a single rock band. Nothing. It's like they went out of their way to say, look, we don't want that. And they had Thin Lizzy, they had Gary Moore, they had such amazing people. And this is fucking Bob Geldof too. And he was a big part of the conspiracy, and his dreadful wife, who just wanted this new wave, Duran Duran, clean cut bullshit. And I honestly, I really thought that was it. It was all over. And then Tracy Guns calls me out the blue and goes, "When can you come over?" I said, "How about tomorrow?" You know, we've had highs and lows, but that was honestly that was probably the most um, game changing moment of my whole career, my whole life.
A couple little notes on the album. One of the things that I didn't notice as a kid, but listening back more recently, I've noticed saxophones in "Nothing to Lose." And
Yeah,
kind of curious because that's the only song that it might be the only
I know, and
that
that's
song
I've
ever.
got. Well, how about the bongos in as well, and No Mercy?
I was cool with the bongos. The sax is the one that kind of stood out to me. Clearly, you guys
Well,
didn't demo it that way. Whose idea was it to bring in
no,
sax?
our manager at the time was a guy called Alan Jones, who was the saxophone player in a band,
Ah,
English, very popular English band called Amen Corner. And you know, we're sitting around, everything's recorded. It's like, what else? So, well, let's put some bongos on No Mercy, and do you want to go and play some sax, Alan? And he was like, yeah, why not? So it was basically everyone in the studio having a leaving a mark, and that was Alan's.
and that makes sense, letting your manager get in there. Also interesting too to see that now legendary producer Howard Benson doing some string arrangements on the album.
Yeah, yeah, incredible. We're really lucky to have him, and he did the whole record, and it's just lush, isn't it? It just wow, that ballad just kills me. So yeah, and that's, you know, that's because um, it's not because we're paying them vast amounts of money. It's because they like what they hear, and oh yeah, I can do something with that, and yeah, I love it.
Interesting. And then the last kind of interesting note, was always under the impression that Stephen Riley played drums on that album, but it was actually a Nicky Alexander, and then
Yeah,
coming in at the 11th hour, and rest in peace, obviously, as well.
yeah, yeah. Well, you know, Riley and I, we had adventures. We had some good times, and you know, I'll always remember him fondly. But no, he wasn't involved in the band in the beginning. He came along. Um, Nicky, our drummer at the time, a strange fellow. Um, he was Mr. Melrose.
Ah,
You know, like when I first came over, Nicky knew every hot chick. He knew where every great party was going to be that night. He knew where to get the clothes. He just knew everything. Mr. Melrose, or the mayor of Melrose. And when the reality hit that, well, guys, you know, we've got an album, it's selling, and we're going to have to go on tour. And it's like, go on tour for how long? Indefinitely. Nicky didn't like the sound of that.
ah.
He didn't want to give up his turf. And you know, he still wanted to play drums and he still wanted to be involved in music, but you know, getting on that tour bus and not knowing when he was coming home didn't appeal to him. So it was up to us to find a drummer, and Tracy knew Steve briefly, and Steve happened to be in the rehearsal complex uh, at the same time we were, and it was just to, you know, hey, do you want to come over and play? And I've got to say, the difference between Steve Riley and Nicky's drum. I mean, Steve Riley back then really was an animal. His playing, it was a freight train. His timing was perfect. It was strong as an ox, and I liked it. I really did. I liked the direction it was going in, and yeah, I mean, it must have been good because we ended up doing countless records together.
Yeah, great to hear that, and some words about him now that he's gone, and rest in peace. And
It's really weird. He's the first one to go, you know, of
yeah,
all the band, you know, and we've had like we're kind of notorious for the amount of members we've had in this. I think the last count was like 53. But yeah, but he's the first one that fell off his perch, and it wow, it was awful. So I didn't want to see that. You know, we had been through a legal issue, and that probably didn't help. his health, but it wasn't something we started. It was just something we had to do, you know.
Right, right.
And you know, we were like into our third album from the reunion, and you know, he wanted to come to get together with a couple of the old guys and call it LA Guns, and we just simply couldn't allow that. You know, it was we'd made so much traction, and
Yeah.
that would have knocked us right off the rails. So it got ugly. It got expensive. It got ugly. And but you know, I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something. I reckon had we got past it, and like last night was Eddie Trunk's 40th anniversary. I think if I'd been in a room with Steve for anything more than 5 or 10 minutes, we'd be like slapping each other's backs and high fiving and laughing. So it wasn't there were no real ill feelings. It was just business.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate the words and the time. And I got one last thing for you. We're an old school radio station. We do a feature called Mandatory Metallica every night at 10 p.m., which you're going to be a part of. Curious if you've had any interactions with those guys over the years, shared the stage with them. Are you a Metallica fan?
Well, you know, uh, I was in the opening band the first time they played in, not the first time, but like they played the Lyceum in London, and it was a big gig for them because they'd just been playing clubs prior to that. And I was working with Bernie Torme at the time in a band called Torme. And you know, I saw him. I was like, yeah, you know, yeah, it's all right. They're good players. But you know, enthusiasm, too small of a word really to describe the crowd. The rabid response. I knew this was a phenomenon, and they are a phenomenon. And you know, I don't. I'm not a big aficionado. I don't know much about them, but nothing else matters is really up there. It's just like one of my favorite songs of all time, or Waltz coming from a metal band. It melts me.
Oh, that you took my next question. That was going to be my follow up. You know, if you had a song to play.
I figured that's where you were going. Yeah, I mean, it's so beautiful. It really is. It's undeniably beautiful, but you know, it's heavy and yeah. I mean, they stuck their neck out doing a ballad, but they really pulled. I mean, Motorhead never did a ballad, and Lemmy could write. He wrote "Mama, I'm Coming Home,"
Yeah,
but he wouldn't
yeah.
dare. He'd never dare play it live. And they can you imagine? Mama, I'm coming home. But yeah, they did. They're great, fantastic. So yeah, it's my favorite Metallica song.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for the time, Phil. It was an honor to get to talk to you, and can't wait to see you out there at the show.
See you at the show. Come say hi.
I will. Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
Mike. Bye.